Hey everybody, welcome to BrickVault. My name's Jack. Today we are reviewing one of the largest Lego sets on the planet. In fact, the second biggest ever made. This is the Lego Taj Mahal. This set was sent to us by Lego to do a review, so thank you guys so much for sending this over to us. It is absolutely amazing. And just getting through some of the basics of what this set is, it is recommended for ages 16 and up. It is set number 10256 and it has 5,923 pieces, basically coming in just under 6,000. When building this set via live stream, I would say split between Mike and I, there was probably around 11 hours total of build time, at least in like man hours, because I was doing 8 hours and Mike kind of hopped on for a few, which on average is actually quite fast for how many parts that this set is. I'm gonna let a little bit more of this time-lapse footage play out of the entire build of this Taj Mahal set, all built in one day, and then we'll get right into the review. So here it is. This is the gigantic Taj Mahal designed 10 years ago and still looking just as good today. Now, I did say in the beginning that this is a re-release, and to clarify, the build from this original version and the one that was released back in 2008 is exactly the same. I mean, piece for piece, and for the most part, the instructions were actually very similar. When Mike and I built this on the live stream together, he used the new manual, the one from the box, when I used the original instructions back from 2008 as a PDF file on a separate computer screen. And the only things that I noticed were that some of the chunks, sort of the larger sections of the Taj Mahal, were kind of built in different orders, but the steps themselves actually remained the same. Also, maybe some color backdrops might have changed a little bit, so there wasn't any color confusion between the white pieces and the trans clear pieces, but I just wanted to get this out of the way right off the bat. This is the same build that came out back in 2008, and the only difference between the one part difference, because the original is 5,922 pieces, and this one is 5,923, one extra piece. I'm pretty sure that is just the brick separator. So getting into the build itself, the first thing you're going to notice, especially if you're seeing this in person, is it's massive. It's really big. It does take up a lot of space. It is a 64 by 64 stud build, and its construction is made up technically of 6 16 by 32 base plates that are kind of put around in a square section. In the whole middle area where you can see the main tall part of the structure, that is actually just resting on top of sort of the base structure, and there's no base plates in the middle. This makes it somewhat modular, and you can't pick this entire thing up together as one solid build, but at the end of the day, with something like this, I don't know if you'd actually want to do that. The middle area is quite sturdy. I'm very glad that you can pick it up by the side walls here, and you don't have to worry about picking it up from the bottom or something like that. And then this sort of giant birthday cake-esque base that we have can be picked up in its square form like this, but it's a little delicate, so I would definitely want to maybe break this down into a couple of pieces just so you don't accidentally have a crash. There you can see I was actually just trying to put it back together, but the whole thing kind of popped away. The internal structure is not quite as solid on this cake as you might think, but it is really easy to put this back together. I mean, the build is extremely simple. Okay, I don't even know why I'm starting this review off by talking about its logistical transportable attributes. Really, the main awesome thing about this model is the look. Now, if there's any Lego set that you could call a display model, I'd put Taj Mahal pretty much at the top of the list with basically any other architecture set that's out there. You're not going to be picking this set up because of its play functions, but because it is just such a grand build of one of the 7 wonders of the world. Now, I've been lucky enough to see the Taj Mahal in person, and I definitely have an appreciation for just how awesome this structure is, and I like how in certain areas of this Lego build, the designers took advantage and sort of accentuated accentuated a certain few features that at this scale would otherwise be really hard or impossible to see. Along this base wall here, for example, at the bottom, you can see all these opened points. Technically, the Taj Mahal has no openings here, but there is sort of this archway subtly carved in this repeating pattern that goes along the white marble, and that is accentuated quite a lot by having sort of a much larger cavity, these openings here all along the bottom in Lego. That same idea crosses over once you sort of get to the main base of the building, where normally this entire area is covered in very intricate carvings, and instead you can just see some sort of subtle suggestions of maybe some more intricate detail, where of course the scale of this build could never really show off all of the things that you would normally see up close, not without stickers at least, and I'm so glad that nobody made stickers for this model. Also, here you can see a ton of different windows. By the way, there's like over 200 1x1 trans-clear plates in this set, and when comparing the Taj Mahal to some pictures, you'll notice that the blue line actually follows some smaller lines of text, while this dark red and light bluish gray design that goes over the larger arches follows some larger lines of text that are kind of all over the Taj Mahal. Essentially, this entire building is all white, and I think the designers at a certain point just had to add a little bit of color here and there in order to break up the look and make this thing a little bit more visually interesting, considering they made it at such a massive scale. In terms of the build's general scale and proportion to how the original Taj Mahal sort of looks, I'd say that this build actually feels very proportional, and the one detailed aspect of this build that just doesn't quite get captured the same way is the smoothness of the domes from the Taj Mahal are of course all studded out. This I wouldn't consider anything negative though. I mean, the Lowell sphere, or this sort of brick built sphere shape, is such an iconic way to build in general that I'm actually glad that the designers managed to work it in. The 4 smaller pointed domes also follow of course a similar style, and the roof is completely covered in a bunch of little sort of towers or spikes, and of course these are the pieces that break off the Taj Mahal most frequently. Also, while we're up here, you can see the tops of all of these domes and towers have yellow pieces instead of what I think would more appropriately be gold. Perhaps back in 2008 they didn't have all the parts they wanted in gold to do the proper shapes, or it's possible that the designers just preferred the yellow aesthetic. In fact, I don't know if this thing would look a whole lot better if everything on the top was made of gold. Also, a sort of cool aspect of this build is that I think it scales pretty darn well with these little micro figs. I don't know how close the actual scale is. It feels pretty close, and I have no idea if this was at all intentional on Lego's part or if it's just sort of some happy accident. But if you did have a bunch of micro figs laying around, you could populate the Taj Mahal with a bunch of tourists, which is basically how the building always is. There's people everywhere all the time. I like that the outer edge of the build has these sort of bases for the spinners, but it sort of leaves a design all along the floor. This is accurate to the real Taj Mahal, though I have to say I think that it comes in red and not blue. At the end of the day, I think this thing looks amazing, and ultimately I don't know if there's a whole lot I could do to critique this build. I have to also remember that this was originally designed back in 2008. This re-release is really to allow people the opportunity to maybe get a giant Lego set that they sort of missed out on from 10 years ago. I for one am really glad that Lego has done this. The Taj Mahal was the largest Lego set for nearly a decade, and I think it's great that this set that has such a sort of grandiose reputation is available again for Lego fans that want it now but don't want to pay, you know, double, triple, quadruple, or even more on the secondhand market for it. Personally, I think it would be awesome if Lego makes this sort of a trend to maybe reintroduce some classic sets that people have been wanting for a long time, but maybe just missed out on the opportunity years ago to get the set that they really wanted. Anyways, in conclusion, my final thoughts are that this Taj Mahal set basically delivers on the principles that I thought it would. It's a display set, it's massive, it's a little actually more accurate than I thought it was going to be in terms of proportions now that I'm looking at it sort of in person, and if Lego wanted to do more big 7 wonders of the world creations in the future, I would totally be down. Alright, so that is it for this episode, everybody. Thanks a lot for watching. Remember, if you enjoy our content, you can always like or subscribe, and we'll see you next time at BrickVault.